Hey, what's going on everyone? Matthew from therighttrader.com here, back today with another daily crypto update. As per usual, I'm going to be going over Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Ripple, Neo, VERTCOIN, Monero, Omisego, and Lisk, all in that order, in a more detailed technical analysis in just a second over here. First though, as per usual, I'm going to go and kind of give you a little overview of what's been going on in the past couple hours in the general market and the altcoins as well. We have some flat price action here with Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple acting pretty flat as well. Litecoin is not doing too bad, but it is kind of worrying me that it's red today. I wanted to see a bounce, but I'll get into that in the technical analysis. And otherwise we're relatively mixed. So we have some red, some green. One that I want to point out in particular, and I'll obviously cover this one in my technical analysis, but that's going to be VERTCOIN. That's having a great day today, up 35%. And it's funny because if you go and check my last daily crypto update, so yesterday's, you can see that I actually mentioned that I saw some strength coming into VERTCOIN. So I've just been all around very accurate with my prediction on VERTCOIN, which, it really boosts my credibility. And if you actually want to hear more about my thoughts on VERTCOIN, where I think it's heading in the next couple of years, you can go and check it out in my cryptocurrency price predictions playlist. The video is right here. And yeah, if you have any other, price predictions that you want to hear from me, you can check them out in this playlist. And I'll leave a link in the description and in the comments below. So like I said, relatively mixed price action and some flatter price action amongst the top 5, let's say. So yeah, let's move on now to our technical analysis, starting off with Bitcoin. So there's some pretty interesting price action going on here. I'll get to that in a second. Otherwise, as far as the indicators go, we are moving downwards on the MACD, so that's obviously bearish. Same thing on the histogram. Now we are holding our uptrend on the RSI. It's going to be important that we hold this uptrend though, so we'll see if it can do that and we can get a nice bounce here. Now we have a little bit of an inverse hammer candlestick going on, okay, and a couple of things that are important to notice here. So we did make a higher high, but we seem now to have made a we made a lower low, but we haven't made a higher high, right? We actually made a lower high over here. As you can see, this was our previous all-time high, right? And now we moved lower from that, which is not exactly what I wanted to see, right? So now there's a couple things that we're gonna have to pay attention to. One is, it's already kind of looking like this, but we may just see some consolidation here for a while, which would make sense with some uncertainty around Bitcoin right now with the upcoming forks. That could be pretty likely, right? Just some consolidation for a while. Now, you should also notice that we're coming pretty close again to this middle band, which is this brown line over here, currently sitting at 5,607. So we're going to see if we can get a bounce off that if this comes closer. Otherwise, this inverse hammer candlestick is actually a bearish sign, right? And, as is, it's not that indicative of anything. But what you have to realize is a candlestick like this means that the price went up and it was pushed back down, okay? So that's what this candlestick means, and obviously, it meant that people weren't really willing to buy it up more. Now, another important thing to notice is that we're actually holding these lower lows here for 3 days in a row that are about at, let's see, based on today's low, 5,715 more or less. So that's going to be a level that we definitely want to see it hold, or at least we'll bounce off the brown line. So yeah, we just have to see if we're going to get some kind of bounce or some consolidation here. And obviously, for a continuation to move higher, we want to see it break the high over here, which is just under 6,000. So true bullish confirmation will be though at 6,189, right? Because that's going to be our previous all-time high, and that's really the level we want to break above to make sure that we're going to continue moving in a more straightforward upward direction. So let's move over now to Ethereum, acting pretty flat here if I'm not mistaken. Yep. So as you can see, we've been in a very flat range bound scenario here for now 4 days, and it's not a bad thing or a good thing per se. Now, what is a good thing is the MACD is actually looking pretty nice here, in my opinion, right? We're coming back up on the on the histogram, and we're also flattening out and possibly now moving back over on the MACD itself, which is obviously a good sign. And you know, it's holding nicely in our symmetrical triangle on the RSI, slowly moving upwards. Now, it's a very messy chart here that I drew, but basically, we're now in this triangle right over here, okay? Let me just draw this out. So this triangle right over here. Couple things to notice. One, we broke out of our short-term uptrend just a day ago, and as you can see, we haven't really been able to go back near those levels. So that's obviously acting as some resistance, which is fine. But like I said, we're now in this little inner triangle right over here, and we can sort of expect it to bounce up and down in here and then make a decision. Obviously, though, to get a first indication as to where we're going to be heading, you know, be it upwards or downwards, is going to be which are we going to break the lows or the highs here that we've been, you know, holding now for several days. So the levels to pay attention to are going to be, you know, it depends where you want to take it, but more or less the 300 level, I guess you could say. Maybe a bit lower than that, like 290. Let's see, the low over here, 288. So basically, you know, if we break below 290, it's probably going to move a bit lower, probably bounce off this uptrend line over here. And if we break, you know, above, so if we break above 300 again, we can expect it to move in the higher range of this triangle and potentially get a breakout, though. But as you can see, there's a lot of resistance levels and lines here that are going to hold the price back a bit. And you know, there's multiple support levels going on here, right? Obviously, we're going to have a pretty big support level around 312 and then 350. So, you know, I think it'll make its way back to 400, but it might take a while, and you know, it's definitely going to face some resistance levels. So that's just something to be aware of, and otherwise we'll just have to wait and see where it's going to really make a more clear direction. But it looks like Ethereum could finally get some strength back into it, and it's been holding pretty nicely. So yeah, moving over to Litecoin now. Let's see, Litecoin. So yeah, this is basically what was kind of concerning me with Litecoin and the fact that it was down today. So as you can see now, we're really outside of our symmetrical triangle, pretty much downtrending now. So I should actually update this. But the level to pay attention to is going to be this sort of downtrend line right over here now that we're facing. And it is what it is, you know. Now, as far as the MACD goes, it just looks like it's going to move downward still a bit. And where it gets really interesting is the price action for Litecoin here. So like I said, I mentioned this in the previous video and everything, we really wanted to hold this symmetrical triangle over here, right? And another important thing to notice is I had drawn the short-term uptrend line that we, for one, broke out of yesterday, and now we're completely distancing ourselves. It basically confirmed that, you know, the weakness, and we even have now a bit of a, let me zoom in a bit for you, we even have a bit of a now a more clear downtrend. So you know what, actually I'm going to delete this one, and let me just make this a different color. So actually let's make this blue. So as you can see, this is the more the clearer downtrend line that I was talking about. Now that's really been put into place, and you know, this obviously isn't a great sign, right? We basically, we're not really even uptrending anymore, at least in the shorter term here. We're really going to have to be paying attention to this blue line, and you know, as you can see, it's really facing a lot of resistance on this blue line. It tested it multiple times here, but it's dropping, and it looks pretty likely to me that we're going to move back down to $52. So you know, that's obviously not the best sign. It's definitely bearish here, and maybe we can expect to bounce there probably in the short term, so 52.50 around there. Now I do actually hold some Litecoin, as you guys know, and you know, if I was a little bit more proactive, I maybe would have sold, you know, right when it broke, or somewhere over here when I spotted some weakness. But to be honest, I think I can't be bothered really. I'm just gonna hold through and be patient. You know, usually with crypto, that's usually the best thing to do, and you know, we'll see what happens. It'll just take a matter of time to really see if, you know, this is a more serious drop or just, you know, a bit of a bump in the road. So let's move over now to Ripple. Let's see, sorry, let's see, Ripple. I usually take Bittrex for the There we go. Ripple. So continuing its move downward. Now we also have a little bit of a shorter term downtrend over here with this blue line, as you can see. Lower highs over here. And even another interesting thing we can do here is draw this right here, and this kind of depends on where you want to draw this, but we almost have a miniature, symmetrical triangle that we kind of broke out of today. So it kind of depends on how you want to draw it. You could be a bit more lenient and draw it like this, or you could, even go and draw something like this. But the bottom line is, it's not looking great, okay? And I do see this now most definitely. It looks like, at least, like it's going to come back and test this uptrend line. Now, what's interesting is, I think we broke out of this uptrend line over here that I'd drawn, but more importantly, we are hooking back over on the MACD, right? And I mentioned this in my previous video, but this is a bullish sign, right? This is actually a really powerful sign, at least in my opinion, signal that I use in my own trading. When there's a big MACD overextension, then it starts hooking back over, and the histogram is actually looking pretty nice as well. Now, it is obviously out of its uptrend on the RSI, but right now what's going to be important to pay attention to is, maybe a bit of a short-term drop down to this 18-cent level, the uptrend line, right? Hopefully get a bounce off that, and then, maybe we can move back into the upper ranges of this triangle. It's a bit early to tell right now. We'll just have to wait and see if it's able to get a strong enough bounce to actually move up into the higher ranges, right? A couple of things that I should mention. Like I said, we have a lot of room to move upwards on the Bollinger Bands, but we do have the middle band that's actually moving downward, which is bearish, and that is going to be a resistance level in the future. So yeah, there's something to pay attention to there. Now, NEO. NEO was looking pretty good yesterday, and we actually have a bit of a failure of the breakout here. I mean, it hadn't really broken out, but it was looking like that was possible. And now we're really getting into a really contracted range-bound mode. You can see how tight the Bollinger Bands are, and we're in a very, like I said, strict range-bound scenario here, which it is what it is. But a couple things on the indicators here. The MACD actually, I think the MACD actually, no, actually, let me zoom in because I can't tell. Yeah, so we actually have a failed crossover. Now, it didn't actually touch the orange line, but it was about to, and it definitely failed that. But it is still holding the uptrend, and same thing with the histogram. So we want to make sure that we hold that. More concerning sign, though, that happened today is the fact that we broke out of our symmetrical triangle on the RSI, right? So, of course, it's possible that we can bounce back in like over here, but if we lose sort of these levels right here, it's definitely going to be bearish, right? We definitely will have lost the any kind of uptrend or pattern that we had previously, and it's going to become a downtrending RSI. Now, as far as the price action goes, like I said, I don't really like the fact that it's failing so much to break out of this uptrend line. And it is holding the lows over here near 26.83, but the more times it tests this uptrend line and fails, it's eventually going to come crashing back down to at least this uptrend line over here. And of course we could get a bounce there and maybe move back up, but the bottom line is it doesn't look like there's enough buyers to actually get a strong enough breakout right now. So my prediction would have to be that we're actually going to move lower now in the short term. Moving over to VERTCOIN, obviously, really popular coin right now. Definitely a coin that I like a lot. Like I said, you can go and check out my price prediction video on that. But VERTCOIN, I mentioned this yesterday, and by the way, if you haven't seen my previous analysis on VERTCOIN, go. These lines, all these lines that I drew here, these red ones and the pink ones. These ones are the resistance levels that we're gonna have to pay attention to, and these ones are the support levels. Now, and these are based off the previous, all-time highs and stuff years ago. But coming back into what's going on now, now we obviously, we're in full breakout mode, and there's going to be a pullback eventually, but right now the strength is definitely behind VERTCOIN. It's really climbing up the ranking. So a couple things to pay attention to. The MACD is actually looking very nice right now, and we're really holding a nice uptrend. So no concerns there. Otherwise, the MACD itself, the histogram, but the MACD itself is really just taking off. And as far as the RSI goes, it seems like it's going to come back near this 85 level, which obviously, this is a very overbought condition. But like I said, during a big breakout like this, it's completely normal and reasonable to have RSIs that are high like that. So it's not a sell signal or anything in this situation. Now, the levels we're going to want to pay attention to for a potential pullback, we're definitely now going to want to see it hold this around 487 level, and even now that we're above $5, hold above $5 would be sort of the pullback levels that we want to see a bounce off of if we do end up having a pullback. Now, as far as the resistance levels to pay attention to as we move upwards with VERTCOIN, so let's see. The next one is going to be at basically right above $6, but obviously $6 itself will be a resistance level. So $6 to 607, that's going to be some resistance right there. But if we break above that, I think it's really in the bag for climbing back up to the all-time high here, and might test that pullback. But I think that now it's looking pretty likely that we're going to break our all-time high in the near future. The next couple months at the very most. So just to come back in here for a last time and go over the very short-term resistance that VERTCOIN could experience is going to be the high that I put in today of $5.63. But like it did yesterday, if it can break above that, I expect it to move over towards $6 in really quickly. So VERTCOIN looking great, to be honest. Nothing to complain about there. Moving over to Monero now. So this is actually interesting because, like I said, we're in a very range-bound situation with Monero as well, and the indicators are basically flat, so they're not very informative. As is now, what's important is we're starting to turn down a little bit on the middle band, and it seems like they're starting to expand, so this could actually be the sign of a drop here. Now, it's early to tell, right? Because, like I said, we're completely range bound. We're gonna want to see if we can hold the sort of the low of around 82 cents. Hopefully, get a little bounce off that and continue our range bound price action. Now, if we break lower, we could definitely come and test sort of this $80 level. And we definitely want to see a bounce off that, because if we lose that $80 level, we're definitely going to move lower. We can move down pretty quickly to the next areas of support are around 56. So definitely we don't want to see a break of that $80 level. And for now, I won't really talk about the resistance levels because we'll have to see if this one will move back up. And it's not the start of a drop here for Monero. Moving over to Omise Go now. Let's see. So Omise Go actually is not looking great here. Now it's still kind of testing and teasing this uptrend line. But as you can see, it tested it multiple times and it did bounce off it. But now it's actually looking like it's starting to crack that uptrend line, right? Which is obviously a bad sign. And the MACD had crossed over, but now it's looking like it's going to crash back again. So the blue line crossing back under the orange line, that's bearish sign as well. That's not something I want to see after, it moved back up like that. And we actually are out of our symmetrical triangle formation, moved to the lower side, so that's bearish as well. And overall, it's not looking great here for Omise Go. It's looking like it's going to drop lower to at least the $6.78 level. So that's what I'm going to be paying attention to for a bounce in the next couple days. Finally, Lisk, final one of our crypto update. So Lisk moving lower, right? I actually mentioned this in my last video, how there was some weakness coming into it and that it looked like it was going to move lower. It did in fact do that, and now we have similar condition here as we did with Monero, where we have a blue line that actually did cross over, which was bullish above the orange line, but now it's going to cross, it's looking like back under the orange line, which is definitely, you know, a bearish sign. Like I said, we had broken out of our downtrend on the R side, but now we're moving back down towards that, so we may get a bounce, but, you know, it's not the best sign. Now, to be honest, seeing this, right, and the price action, I do think we're actually going to get a pretty nice bounce off the uptrend line. But, you know, we're going to have to see and really notice if weakness is taking over or strength in LISC. So in the short term, I think we're going to drop a bit lower, really test this uptrend line. But we're going to have to see if we're going to get a nice strong bounce after that and really move and break above the downtrend line, or are we going to crack this uptrend line, right? So this pretty much concludes my daily update, everyone. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And thank you for watching. Have a nice day.